Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we must start this Kiddushin daf Mem Beis. We are going to begin on the bottom of Mem Aleph Amud Beis, the fourth line from the bottom. Hanichol Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. So this is good in accordance to the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. Who is that? So we learned when it came to the dinim of shlichus that when it comes to a carbon pesach, we learn out from the pasuk v'shachtu also kol kahal Adas Yisrael ben Arbayim, that you could appoint a shliach, that shliach shalem kamoso, because it's not talking about where everyone shechs their own carbon. So the fact that one person does it on your behalf shows that you can have a shlichus. So it's good according to him. El Rav Yonasan denapik leil haikro lidrash achrina minolan. According to him, he actually uses this pasuk to teach us something else. So then, how does he know shlichus? To study, we learn. Rabbi Yonasan Omer Menayin Shekol Yisrael Kun Yoitzin. As we continue to Mem Beis Amud Aleph, Pesach Echad. How do we know it's Shaykh? Says Rashi. Avol Bi Shein Bo Kazayis Ochel Echad. Even though each person does not have the ability to eat even a kazayis, the Ksavar Chilos Psachim Akva El Zrikas Dam Chuda. He only holds the sprinkling of the blood is required. However, even the eating of the carbon pesach is not an absolute requirement, because Shneimar v'shachnu oso kol kahal adas Yisrael ben Arbayim, that you shecht it, which is mashma, is only one carbon maybe. V'chi kol hakal kulam sheichtin, is everyone shechted v'lo eno sheichet el echad el mekan shekol Yisrael yotzim b'pesach echad. So if that's the case, and by the way, this is question number 10 and TB9, which we said in yesterday's daf, we said, what do we learn out from this pasuk? So either shloch shalom kamosa, or that all klai yisrael can be yotze with one carbon. So shliach b'kach manoli. So how does he know shlichus? So where it says minei, you can still learn out from there. V'dil mashani hasam di islay shutus b'gavayu. Maybe the only reason why it works is because it's considered like shutus. They're like partners. Says Rashi, Tahashal kol hakahalhu of a shliach ba'al malo, just to be a shliach in general, where you don't have any connection to it, maybe you can't do. El mahacha. Rather, according to him, he'll have to use a different pasuk. It says, V'yicholahem ish seh lebeis avos seh labayis. That they'll take, one person will take a seh for the whole beis avos, one seh for the whole house. So obviously that's shlichus. The vadil mahasam namidi islay shutvas bigavayu. That's because they're all connected. It's like a chabura. Im ken trei kroi lumali. Why do you need two psukim to tell us the same thing? Must be im enu in lehecha de shayach tenu in lehecha de shayach. If it works in a situation by shutvas, so it should also work in a case where it's just stam shlichus. So how me boy away with Rabbi Yitzchak, but we actually need that pasuk for something else. Then Rabbi Yitzchak, ish zoicha v'lo katan zoicha. Says Rashi, limuti katan she'in lekayach likach b'shvil acher muyosu zoicha lehem b'mechlei. It's coming to tell us this din that the only time it works is by a man, an adult, but a katan who doesn't have the ability to take something on behalf of others. So in that situation, you cannot be zoicha in a mekach. So that's what we learn out. Only a ish zoicha v'lo katan zoicha. So homam b'ish v'hi achol nafka. So you actually learn out from a different part of the pasuk. Okay. V'katim boile. We still need it to teach something. Another thing, the sheichnas a pesach al hiyachin. That you can shech the karban pesach even by yourself. In other words, you may not necessarily even need a group. Says Rashi, if you do Amran, this is toward the, again, like in the Pei Ches area of Psachim, Pei Tes, it says over here, that it says, Yov Maloi Sochel is Baruch HaSpesach Ba'achad B'Yochid. Savar Lo Kerbi Command Yomer, In Shech HaSpesach Al HaYochid. That an individual is not able to do it. A Karban Pesach has to be more communal. Okay, hold off 1 second. Let's look at this Taisus. Is Zoich Ve'in Katan Zoicha. Ve'im Timer Blomli Kro. Why do you need a pasuk? And get in the end yad lekatan. Of course, why would you need a miyut for a katan? He has no yad. Maybe by a pesach you think karban pesach is different. The Sagadanach says Taisus, since they have shaychas eating it, the sarachli himonais alav, and he's counted among the group. Okay. Ayin Taisus. Velohadiam Rav Gidol Marav. He says the name of Rav Menayin Shulchas Shalom K'moisai Hanu Adin of Shlichus Shenem Rav Nasi Echad Mimata. So we went up from this pasuk Shlichus, that you have one Nasi who brings it on behalf of everyone. So typically Shlichus Mehacha. Why not Shlichus from there? Why do we have to learn out from over here? Learn out from over there? So the Gemara says, "V'tizbra, is that logical? Dosh shlichasu? You think when the Nasi brings these various karbanos at shlichus, but katanim labnei shlichus, then who? They're also doing on behalf of the katanim, and they're not bnei shlichus. So it's not shaykh that they're shluchim for a katan. Ela kiha the Rabbi Barav Huna the Amarav Barav Huna Amarav Gidol Amarav Menayin shezachal Adam Shulbafanav. How do we know that there's a din that you could do something on behalf of someone else, as long as it's something which is good for them, even if it's not in front of them? So we went out from this pasuk to tell you that the nasi does something which is a schus for behalf of everyone else. So tizbra, schusi, hachayvin nami, ika. It's possible it's not a good thing. The ika denichale bahar, when the nasi was involved in the division of the land, some people may have preferred a different property. Some may want the valley, some may want a mountain. Some don't like the mountain. The Elwa could Rabba Barav Huna near Marava. Barav Huna Marav, Marav, when it comes to the assignment that wish to divide up the possessions of their fathers, she based in Mamidan Habapitropos, will appoint an apitropos on their behalf, for better or for worse. So why would you do something for their detriment? Now it means that it doesn't really mean bad. It says Rashi, if you know this apitropos is going to cause problems, so why is that good? Says Rashi, rather it means that it's possible that they may do something which turns out not to be good, but it's still acceptable. Obviously, they had the right intentions. Says Rashi, right, as we said, some people like the mountains, some like the valleys, so it's schus or chayv. Not that the nasi wanted it to be chayv, but in that situation it works. So too in this situation. Okay, question 11. Menolan de'en shlichus l'katan. How do we know that there's no shlichus for a katan? So on this, I wrote Rashi only, but the beparshas Gerushin demina yalfinan shlichus ish ksiv beparsha. So it says v'gabi v'shilach v'shilcha ish ksiv yikach ish umina yalfinan de'en katan oisa shliach. So this is how we see from Gerushin that there's no shlichus l'katan. Okay. Ayin Rashi. Weiter. Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel Yisem Shalachim Nechsi Avihim. When you have these orphans that are wishing to divide the estate of their fathers, based on Mamidon have apitropos, so that they'll have this guardian, this person who's going to be involved overseeing the estate. Ubar lehem chelak yafe, and they create for each one of them a good portion. The im higdilo, however, once these Yisem get a little bit older, yichon limchais, they can protest and say that I didn't want this, and therefore it will be an accepted macha, and therefore based on that they'll have to redivide the property. On this, Rav Nachman Didei Omer says no. Im higdil einu yichon limchais. Once they grow up, it's too late. Why? Because the im kain makach beis yafe. If we allow them to be able to just change the entirety of what the apotropos did, now he was appointed by Beis Din. So what koyach does the Beis Din have? What's the purpose of the Beis Din appointing an apotropos if they can just undo it all? So therefore, Nachman says no, it's not the case. Rather, once they grow up, they still are obligated to stick to whatever was divided up in the way it was. Now the question is, does he really hold of this far? V'tanan shum hadiyanim, says Rashi, the evaluation of an estate, that the possessions of the borrower to the lender shlo b'fnei loive was done not in front of the borrower, or shlo medaita without his consent. So when it comes to this evaluation of an estate, shepichasu shtos or hosir shtos, in which it was over or undervalued by a sixth. So mechron batal, we say that once it's already a sixth, that's already too much, and therefore the sale is not valid. It's still a good sale. Focusing on the words here, it's Rav Nachman who says, he'll take the Chachamim. What do the Chachamim say? The Chachamim say that the Mekach is batal. But how come when it comes to the case of the apotropos, does he say that when they get older, they will not be able to change their minds or make a macha, because of imkein ma koich beis yafa? When Shema Diyanim we see he holds that you don't do that. So how do you understand the stira? So Lil Kash, it's not a question as we continue to mem beis mid beis. Ha dito. Ha duluto. It all depends if there was a mistake. So if there was a mistake between a sixth or more, that's already significant, and therefore it's batal because they made a mistake. However, the Saimim, when it came to the apotropos, there was no mistake. Gemara says, what do you mean? So what do you mean? What are they complaining about? They're complaining about the various directions. Says Rashi, Misha nafaloi chelk b'daram, omer noachli chelk b'safoin. I got the south, I prefer the north. I have another property, so I'd rather have two adjacent properties and not two properties in two different places. So this is not really a mistake that the apotropos made. So therefore, because of that, he holds imkin makach beis yafa. If we don't find that there was a mistake that was made, then they should not be allowed to protest. Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman says the following: Ha'achin shecholku. So actually, let's hold off 1 second. Let's see if there's a question over here. Yeah. So question TA 9. Matai afil pachas mishtos batal mekach umadua. So why or when, if it's even less than a shtos, it's going to be batal mekach. So b'shavi shlit. Okay, we didn't do that yet. All right. I thought we did that. We did not do it. Ha'achan shecholku. Okay, we didn't do these yet, so let's continue. Rav Nachman, Ha'achin shecholku. So this is obviously the Gemara we're going to be seeing now. You have brothers that are dividing up a Yerusha. Harahein kol kuchais. They have the din of purchasers. That's Rashi says, Kach dinin shel kuchos kotzuv. Okay. So what does that mean? Pachos mishtos. So since they're like kuchais, so let's say there's some type of a error less than a 6, nikne mekach, it's good. Yes, or shtos, if it's more than a 6, batal mekach, shtos, if it's exactly a 6, kana, it's a good kinyan, however, machzor ina. They have to return it. So if it's more than a 6, that's already very significant. Less than a 6, not a big deal, but a shtos, we still say it's a kinyan. Amarava, had amran, pachas meshtos, nikne mekach. The only time we said less than a 6 that's okay, well, amran el dolei shav shliach. That's only if they didn't have a shliach that was involved in this whole process. This is actually question 12. It's mamish the same question. Question 12. So clearly, if you appoint a shliach, so that's actually one of two answers. Well, at least that's one. And then this is what it says, Matai feel pachas meshtus batal mekach umadua. Again, that's question 9, TA 9. Shavi shliach tamatzi yamos kuni shadartich. That my purpose here of appointing a shliach was for him to help me, not for him to do something to my detriment. Okay. So question 10 is going to actually be verbatim of question 12. All right, so which is again TB 10. So these are all like very similar questions, but the way that the Gemara framed the question TB 10 is framed the same as question 12, which is really two answers. So we saw one answer that even pachas mashtus, we're going to say that it's batal mekach. Yes, mishtos batum ekach. When we say it's more than a 6, that's not good. Lo amr el doli amr nifligan b'shuma is only where a person doesn't say divide it b'shuma, which it was some type of calculation. However, we continue. If you actually said we're going to use it based on the evaluation of Beis Din, then it's kaim. So we're holding here like Rosh Gamliel that even if it's more than a 6, doesn't make any difference. The din is machon kaim because that was the stipulation. I'm going to say, you know what, whatever the Beis Din decides, that's what we're going to do, and you can't retract. You can't say you can't make a macha. When we said it's exactly a 6 that it works, so maxor no, you have to return the difference. That's only when it comes to metaltlin of a mekarkoi ein onal karkos. Says Rashi, the onaksiva behen o kanomiyad amitecha al toinu davar hanikana miyad liad. Because when it talks about metaltlin, that's where it talks about the isser of ona, of charging an extra 6th. In that situation, you would have to return it. However, when it comes to karka, if you overcharge, we say ein ona karkos. Karka, there's no concept of ona, and therefore you wouldn't have to return that amount. And with karkoi lomra, the only time we say by karka that you do not have to return is el depolig bi'iluye, if it was divided based on its value. Says Rashi, shlu chilkam b'chevel, you didn't use ropes. Avo polig b'mishchasa lo. However, you use ropes, then no. Why? This is also going to be questioned. This was the second answer of question 12 and TV10. That anytime you use something which is with a measurement or weight or number, so even the smallest amount, you have to be chayzer. Because if you use these precise measurements, so therefore already it should have been done exactly correct. And if it wasn't done exactly correct, even when it comes to karka, you would have to return. So we said it's almost like it's separate. What happens when it comes to a person who sends a torch in the hands of a cheresh katan, who are considered to be people who don't have das, they can't really watch this item that you're holding it. You're going to be chayim b'di shemayim, but you didn't actually do it, so therefore you're patim b'di adam. Shilach biad pikeach. If you gave this torch to someone who is of sane, sound mind, pikeach chayiv. So I'm not going to be chayiv at all because that person was the one who should have been responsible. So why do we say if I give you a torch and you destroy something, I should be the one chayiv because you're my shliach. So just like I would be chayiv if I did it, so if you're my shliach, you should not be chayiv, I should be chayiv. So we have the famous answer, Shani Hasem Dehin Shliach Levar Aveira, Diamrin and Divri Harab, Divri Talmud, Divri Mishayman. I kind of wonder why there's a word to say with Skuni Shadratich Lavasi. You'd almost think that you can come up with that answer possibly as well. I'm not sure if this is actually even a different answer, but in general, when it comes to an Aveira, which would certainly include destroying property, in that situation, you're no longer considered to be that person's shliach. Right? You can control your own actions. You have bechera chafshu. Even if I tell you to do an aveira, but it's your choice to do that aveira. After all, divi rab, divi talmud. If you're told by something by a student and by a teacher, you should listen to your teacher. V'hadesanya, fine. Shliach shel asa shlichusai. When it comes to din of mi'ilah, if you have a shliach that does not do their shlichus, shliach moil. So then, because I told you to do something and you didn't do as I instructed, and you ended up getting hana from kodshim or from kodshim, so in that situation, the shliach is moil. So what happened? So what happened over here? He gave the shliach hektish money to use to buy something for the baal. So if he did asa shlichuso, if he actually did the shlichus, then baal habayis moil. So kiyasa shilchus the Baal Habayis mia moyel amai nami in shlich devar avera. We see when it comes to me'il, we don't apply this concept of in shlich devar avera, because if we apply in shlich devar avera, if this person did my shlichus, then why do we say that I'm the one who's responsible? We should say the shliach is the one who's chayiv. No shani me'il is different. The alpha chet matruma, because we learn an exer shev from truma. Truma meshavi shliach, me'il meshavi shliach. So just like as we already learned on the previous daf, that when it comes to truma, there's a din that you can have a shliach. So too when it comes to me'ila, the din is the same. So v'neil mina, want to learn out from it. Mishum dahavi me'ila shlichus yad shnei ksum ke'achad v'chol shnei ksum ke'achad in malamdin. We have me'ila, and also, as we're going to see by shlichus yad, regarding to a pikadon, these are two things in which we find that we do not apply shliach shel gamoso. So therefore, it's only in those two cases, but nowhere else. So me'ila hadamar, we already established when it comes to me'ila, the din is that if the shliach does my shlichus, the din is that I, the Baal Habayis, will be chayiv. And we do not say in shliach davar avera. Shlichus yad mahi. What is this? The sanya. Al kol davar pesha beishami omer melchayiv al hamachshava kamaisa. He learns out regarding this that you're going to be chayiv even an improper thought when it comes to using a pikadon. You have someone's safekeeping some object in your property and you use it, so you're going to be chayiv according to the shita of Beis Shammai, even a machshava. Says Rashi, O al hadibor shim omer o chashav l'shleich yad b'pikadon. If you even have a thought to want to use it, harihu b'rshusai, it's like in your rishus, from that moment, l'schayiv b'chol einsin. And now all of a sudden you're going to be chayiv in any accident, anything that happens to it. If you'll have yishemer chinam, shloha yichayiv ad achshav el b'pshia. A shemer chinam, as we learn in Bamatzia, the din is that a person's only chayiv by pshia, if he was negligent. However, when it comes to this person, he's going to be chayiv immediately b'oinsin, as soon as he even has a machshava to want to use it. Beis Hill inu chayiv ad sheyishlach mayad. You're only going to be chayiv oinsin davka when you actually use it. Shenemer im lo shalach yad l'gam. You actually have to be shalach yad. So I'm going to say 1 second. Loy nemer al kol davar pesha, which is mashmi, maybe even dibor, machshava should also be mechayiv b'oinsin. So I'm going to be still Beis Shammai. Okay, you have a good question on me. I'll ask you a good question too. Which sounds like it's only when you actually do an action. So Amr Beis Shammai Beis Hill Imkain I'll call davar pesha lumli. So then why does it say that? So Beis Hill will say Shachal Ainli Elahu. Amar l'Abdul Shluchum Menayin Talmud Amar Kol Davar Pesha. That not only if you do it, but also if you would tell an Evan or even a Shliach, Al Kol Davar Pesha tells you that you're also going to be Chayiv B'Oinsin, even though you're not the one that did it. But it's the fact that a Shliach did it, you're also going to be Chayiv. So therefore we see by Meila and when it comes to Shliach Shad, these are two situations where we do not apply the concept of Ein Shliach Davar Avera, and therefore for that reason the din is that a person can be Chayiv B'Oinsin. However, even more importantly, we cannot learn out these things because the Shnei Ksum Ke'ach and Malamdin. You can't learn out these two things to anything else, and therefore we say the din is in general you can make a shliach, and there's a concept of shliach shel also, but also in shliach davar avera. So therefore, if you give a competent person a torch and they destroy something, you're not chayav, but they are, because divrei Rav, divrei Talmud, divrei mi shaymin. Adkan.